Hi, my name is Abby Wood, and today I'm going to be teaching and explaining my technology-based lesson plan, as well as going over my think sheet and my rubric. First, I'm going to be talking about my technology-based lesson plan. The subject and grade level for this lesson plan is 2nd grade science. The title for this lesson is Push or Pull. And then my state standard is motion and stability, forces and interactions. Some objectives are students will learn to analyze the push or the pull that occurs when objects collide or are connected. Another objective is students will be given a worksheet at the end of the lesson. Each student will be able to identify if the activity in this picture is using a push or pull motion. And then an I can statement is, I can tell the difference between a pushing and pulling motion. Some materials and resources that I will be using for the lesson plan and throughout the lesson plan are: a PowerPoint will be used to introduce and teach the students about push and pull motions. The internet will be used for video that the students will answer questions to within their groups, and a game will be played by each student individually that will help students distinguish the difference between the push and pull motions. A toy dog with a leash will be passed to each group so that they can demonstrate themselves the push and pull motions. A worksheet will be handed out to each student at the end of the lesson to quiz the knowledge on the push and pull motions. Some accommodations / adaptations for this lesson plan. My groups will be based off how they're already sitting at their tables, because I will already know how my students work together and which ones work well together and don't. So the group activity that they do within my lesson will be with their tables, and they will work with those groups. My motivating students / anticipatory set, which will be like the hook or to engage my students in the beginning, is I will start the lesson out like this. How many of you have ever been to the grocery store with your parents? I'll wait for them to raise their hand. Then I will say, when your parents get a buggy, what do they do to move it around the store? I'll have one of my students answer. Then I will ask, what about when your parent is wanting to back up? What do they do to bring the buggy towards them? Then I'll let them answer. And then I will say, did you know that these two daily motions are called forces? And then that will start into my lesson and start my PowerPoint on teaching push and pull. Some instructional procedures for this lesson plan is, before computer use, students will be sitting and listening to the content of the lesson while looking at the PowerPoint. Throughout the PowerPoint, each group / table will receive a toy to demonstrate the push and pull motions. Each group will also receive a whiteboard to answer the questions as a group throughout the video. Is this a push or a pull motion? During computer use, each student will play an online game at their own pace and test their knowledge on the content that we have just covered. Each student will also be asked to look up a picture of someone using a push and a pull motion. After computer use, when finished, the students will put their Chromebooks up and return to their seats. After every student has returned to their seat, each student will receive a worksheet that will ask them to test their knowledge on push and pull motions. Some questioning, thinking, and problem solving that will be embedded in my lesson plan is probably going to be during my PowerPoint, and a little bit from that would be, a force has been defined as an interaction that changes the motion of an object. When we read the definition of a force, we can see how it deals with the push and the pull motions. A force that changes the direction of an object towards you would be a pull. On the other hand, the force moves an object away from you is a push. And then today we will be learning more about the push and pull motions as a class by going through the PowerPoint, and that will lead into my PowerPoint part of the lesson. The way I will assess my students is I have a rubric, which I'm going to explain later. Group participation, I will also assess that, as well as testing their knowledge with the think sheet at the end of the lesson. For the closing, after individual time on the computer, there will be a worksheet, which is my think sheet, that they will answer questions to, so I can test their knowledge and make sure that they retain stuff from my lesson. So now I am going to be talking about my think sheet. So my think sheet, which you can't really see, but I can show you right there. It's titled Push or Pull. It has 3 lower level questions and 3 upper level questions. The lower level are kind of like a yes or no, and upper level is what you can elaborate more on. So the first question is lower level, and it is, what does a push motion do? The second question is lower level, and it is, what does a pull do? Third question is upper level, and it is, what is a real life example of a push motion? The fourth question is upper level, what is a real life example of a pull motion? The fifth question is upper level, and it says, draw an example of a push motion. 6 is lower level, draw an example of a pull motion. So now I will be talking about my rubric. The rubric for my technology-based lesson plan is categorized by 5 different categories. The first one is speaks clearly. The second is details. The third is content. The fourth is spelling errors. And the fifth is organization of PowerPoint. And then there is a point system ranging from 1 to 4, and it basically speaks clearly. Like, you would get total points for speaking clearly, which is, if you speak clearly, have confidence in yourself, that's how you would get 4 points for that. Details is making sure there's enough details about push and pull motion so that your students are learning. Content has a good enough content about push and pull motions, giving examples and everything like that. Spelling errors, there's no spelling errors. And organization of PowerPoint, making sure that your PowerPoint moves smoothly and that students can follow where you're coming from. So that is all I have for my 3 sections, and I hope that you have learned a lot. Thank you.